And I have the distinct pleasure this morning of introducing our keynote for our morning session, Patricia Shafer. We're collecting Patricias, I guess. But Ms. Shafer holds a Master's of Science in Consulting and Coaching for Change. This is going to take a while, by the way. She's done a lot of stuff. It's a joint venture of Oxford University, the UK, and the HEC in France. She has an MBA from Northwestern University, Kellogg Graduate School of Management, and an MA in Journalism from The Ohio State University. And she's had time to work, too. She's held senior positions in change management, communications, and corporate affairs in 2 global Fortune 100 companies. She's a senior fellow for peace education at the Alliance for Peacebuilding. Folks, I'm not near done yet. She's a Rotary Peace Fellow. She's a Rotary Positive Peace Activator. She's a Global Peace Ambassador for Rotary Strategic Partner Institute for Economics and Peace. And in addition to her official peacebuilding work, Patricia is a Chief Catalyst and Executive Director of the international nonprofit Mothering Across Continents, through which education projects are managed in several countries in East Africa. I don't know how she finds time for all this stuff, but good for you. Please welcome Patricia Shafer to the podium.
Well, first of all, it's really great to be with you. And I just want to say to Patricia McLeese that we share the same name, obviously. And I don't meet that many Patricias. My mother was a Patricia, but she went by Pat. I'm a Patricia who goes by Patricia, though there have been times where people wanted to give me a new name, a nickname. And so my nickname, my family nickname now is actually Trixie, which plays very well in the South where I live now. In North Carolina, you say Trixie and people immediately feel connected to you. Like it's approachable, right? But I go by Patricia professionally, and I don't meet that many Patricias. And to have Patricia, the other Patricia, because she refers to me as the other Patricia, and I call her the other Patricia, to have the other Patricia speak so powerfully about peace was so moving and so real and so authentic. And I just thought, if by virtue of name we are soul sisters or doppelgangers, I am so proud to carry the name Patricia. Thank you for those words. I am also truly, truly, truly delighted to be here because I'm going to give you a number, which in the moment you might think somehow that makes this gathering less special. It doesn't, it makes it more special. So in these roles that you heard about, I asked our Director of Operations in NewGen Peacebuilders last week to tell me how many Rotarians have I spoken to, delivered workshops with, had interactive training experiences with. And the answer came back, 16,850. So whether it's in person or online, I have somehow connected with 16,850 Rotarians. Now, it doesn't, that's a small number in the scheme of 1.4 million Rotarians, or a small number in, a world of 7 billion people. But I think it's a big number because that means if I had this beautiful opportunity to interact with 16,850 Rotarians, I know those Rotarians like you are out there interacting with your circles. I learned this morning that the North Lake Rotary Club has 146 members. That's astounding. And those 146 members are interacting with whoever, and the same with the mayor and so on. But because of those opportunities to talk to 16,850 Rotarians, the theme today is hope. And so as a speaker, you often come with a hope. So hope is, I hope it'll be a beautiful setting. Check. I hope that there will be energy and that people will see possibility and they will see the power that they have. Check. Yeah, I got it from the moment I arrived this morning. I went to tables in the House of Friendship. I felt it. I heard it in Patricia's remarks. I heard it in Ed's remarks. I heard it meeting Mike. I heard it meeting many beautiful people in the room, and felt it, energy. And I also often hope that things are so well organized and they run on time because it tells me a lot about what people are able to get done. Check. Really, really beautiful. So a beautiful, beautiful setting to be in. And so I thank you for all that you do together to create that setting. That was the first time I had seen President McNally's or Gordon's remarks on hope. And that was also really beautiful too, because I felt his authenticity through the screen, that he really does view Rotary as a very hopeful place. So today what I want to do is share a little bit about how I think about hope, share a little bit about the connection I see between peace and peace education and hope, and then share at the very end why you as Rotarians, we as Rotarians, offer the world more hope than almost any organization or network or people committed to service and humanitarian work and peace do. And I'm going to prove it to you with some numbers and some illustration of energy that I see because I have these opportunities to talk to Rotarians, okay? So if my friend in tech will, oh, by the way, perpetual changes of hair color. That really is me. All right, so I want to talk about creating hope through peace. And I want to start with two images because just like peace, I find that everybody defines peace differently, and I go about my business helping people try to align on how they define peace. But you could say the same thing about hope. So hope can mean different things to different people. And so I chose these two images for this morning because the first one comes courtesy of my husband, the one on the left, with the little dogs in the bucket, or as we call it, tub o' pups. Okay, tub o' pups. And it comes because he sent me this photo while I was traveling after one of the hardest 10 days he has had in a long time. So over the course of 10 days, we buried his father at West Point, which is an amazing thing because the highest serving military person on the post in this elaborate flag folding ceremony, they fold the flag, and then he comes to my mother-in-law and says, on behalf of the President of the United States and a grateful nation, ... and he delivers the flag. So we buried my father-in-law at West Point. The second thing that happened in those 10 days is while we were up for a ceremony at West Point for my father-in-law's funeral, my husband's favorite aunt has a cardiac incident, goes into a coma, and dies within 3 days, while one of her daughters was 3 weeks short of delivering her second child. Yeah, giving birth to her second child. And the third thing that happened was we had to make the decision to have our 14-year-old black lab pass to the next life, which is a huge decision that I'd never made before. And so in all of this, I'm away traveling, and a couple days after all of this in 10 days, he's at the veterinarian's office, and there's this, first we called it bucket of puppies, then we said it's a tub of puppies, then we said it's tub o' pups. And he wrote me this note, and he says, whenever you think it can't get any worse, just think of tub o' pups. Okay? So this picture is now famous with my team at work. You know, we say, it's time for tub o' pups. Okay? On the right is Kelly Corrigan. So who knows Kelly Corrigan from PBS and Tell Me More? Aha, good for you. So Kelly Corrigan does these interviews with PBS, and she has a podcast in which she interviews really interesting people, and she really comes at the interviews trying to find the best that we can be out of talking to these amazing people. And she did an opinion piece on COVID-19. And she said, you know, her practice is when things seem so terrible, when it just seems like it can't get any worse, she stops, she mentally shifts and tries to see that horrible situation in the best possible way. So then she goes on to describe how she's come to view COVID-19. So she says, COVID-19 was the time when the universe made us stop and pay attention to each other and play board games and come together as family. She says COVID-19 was the time when we saw that public health and science are so important that a whole new generation of young people is saying, I'm going to go into science, I'm doing STEM, I'm going to do global public health. And she says COVID-19 was also the time when we went, wow, teachers have really hard jobs. They are really, really important to us. And we really we'd underestimated that, we had overlooked it, we had started to take them for granted. Wow, these are the lessons of COVID-19, she says. Okay? But and I know, there are folks in the room, like this beautiful gentleman right here, who are like, I don't know. But it's about mental shift, deciding that even in the worst of times, it can be the best of times, to borrow Dickens, okay? All right, so these are, a couple of definitions of hope. But I wanted to quickly show you definitions of hope that we put together in a video when we did a global youth leadership summit with young people, about 500 young people from the United States, Afghanistan, and so on. And we asked them, how do you define peace? Why would I want to show you that? Because to me, the ultimate hope on the planet is peace. The fact that we can create it, we can build it, we can shape it, we can deny the evil forces that are at work. So I wanted to show you what they think about peace and hope. And I probably won't play the whole 4 minutes, but you'll get a real flavor a couple of minutes in. Okay, so this morning, I knew nothing about your agenda this morning. And when those flags with all of those Rotary Youth Exchange students came in, one of the largest groups I've ever seen, I went, oh my goodness, this group understands global connections. When you did the slides with all the places where you're doing work, it's a little bit like this video. Just when you think the video is going to end, it keeps going. I went, wow, Uganda and Colombia and Brazil and this and that, all of your global connections. So it tells me that you're in a really good position to have your own perspective on what creating hope through peace really means. So would you mind turning to your neighbor at your table, a neighbor at your table, and sharing for just a couple of minutes what for you, just like my husband's photos mean something to us and Kelly Corrigan means something to me, would you share with your neighbor what creating hope through peace means to you? All right, well, the good news is you didn't seem to be at a loss for words. It sounds like there's a lot that you have to say, which is really exciting. And I know that over your 3-year journey of making peace visible, whatever you said today, what is true for you today, it's going to keep growing and evolving and changing. And if you're really making this 3-year commitment to making peace visible, you will be a very powerful force for the idea that you can create hope through peace. All right? So I know as we get to know each other today, I'll hear more about what you said around the table. So I really appreciate that you took this time to do that. So in this little tour de force around the notion or the connection between hope and peace, I want to keep giving you new reference points. So one reference point was those photos. A second reference point is research that shows that if you can look in someone's eyes without saying anything for 4 minutes, it's an experiment, you can really connect with them. You can repair a relationship, start a relationship, deepen a relationship. I once did this with a group of people, and there was a couple who had been together for 45 years, and I watched them fall in love all over again. I am not going to ask you to look deeply into each other's eyes for 4 minutes this morning, though it's a beautiful, beautiful exercise. Do try it out. But I do want to show you, if there's truth to this experiment, how connecting on a soul level, a peace level in this way can actually create hope where it would seem that hope is not alive. So here's an example of the experiment at work.
Nice mustache. Six, five. Mit 6, 5.
I'm keeping my eyes on you. Hello. I expect you to ask my number. Be a strong man.
Thank you so much. We will go to the zoo, maybe next few days. I will text you if you would like to.
I would love it. Of course, you can do it.
When I was looking into her eyes, I was trying to see what I could tell from the life that she lived, and I think I could tell that there was a lot of experience lived there.
Doesn't matter, look at the eyes or something, just give yourself a chance to talk and to look at the other person.
There are more people on the move in this world right now, either forced migration or not, than ever in the history of the planet. So I think this video is powerful for that reason, but it's also powerful in terms of who we as Rotarians say we will be in terms of connecting with the world. And again, I honor you, I respect you for what we saw this morning with the Rotary Youth Exchange and all the places that you were trying to touch and make connections. And you too, Alex, with Global Minnesota. I thought that was awesome to hear about what you're up to. All right, so, but what does it mean? Okay, another perspective on hope and peace. One is connecting like that, and listening, and observing, and engaging in conversation, and creating dialogues for understanding. But ultimately, if Rotarians are about being in action, people of action, there are two things that on the peace building continuum, like rock the world in a good way. One is acknowledging gaps in the human condition, seeing where there are voids or holes to be filled, seeing where suffering can be alleviated, seeing where we can all pursue what Dr. Johan Galtung would have called creating conditions of well-being for all. That's his definition of positive peace. And the way you get to that, if you want the highest impact possible, is taking action together for a more just world. So all of these elements are important in terms of peace building, but impact is these two things on the end, right? So it's the ultimate test of, are we creating peace and hope, or through hope? All right, so if that's true, Rotary has a 100-year history of creating peace, being dedicated to peace. Obviously Rotary was at the founding of the United Nations, therefore the chartering of the United Nations, has done all kinds of things since, including creating 1,500 Rotary Peace Fellows. Okay, the Rotary is the largest provider of graduate degrees and professional certificates focused on peace and conflict resolution in the world. Okay, and Rotary and Rotary has this thing which you're all becoming very familiar with, called a partnership with the Institute for Economics and Peace to promote positive peace and use what's called the 8 Pillars framework to learn how to be more effective and facile with the projects that we decide to take on. So it's a way of creating a framework and language that gets us helps us move all in lockstep. So all the ways that Rotary is, convener and connector of peace. And as you can see on this map, there are all kinds of ways that Rotary has been supporting young people being educated to be peace builders. So these are places in the world where NewGen Peacebuilders and or Youth in Peace and Action has been supported by Rotarians. And for those of you who come to my session today, and all the sessions look really good, I kind of want to leave my session and go to the other sessions. But I've got some booklets for you that will show that, all right? And so this idea of creating action peace projects. So if we start to put all that together, we say, oh, peace and hope. Wait. If you want higher impact, it's about identifying gaps and being in action. There's a thing called the 8 Pillars. There's a way you do a peace project. What does that end up looking like in execution? And so one of the things we often say is there's a beautiful place that we play in service, and you can even take a service project and turn it into more of a peace project if you're starting to use some of these tools. So let me give you an example of what some young people in California did. And the reason I've chosen this for you this morning is, has anybody in the room worked on a project that was somehow to support the needs of children in foster care? Can you just raise your hand so I'll know? Hi. Okay, not like this, not like this, I can't see that. You have to go like this. Okay, great. All right, well, that is a very common experience across the United States. So these young people in California tackled it in a particular way after learning to be peace builders, and their project has been repeated in multiple states. So we really...
In 2016, 26 high school students and 10 adult mentors in Santa Rosa, the first NewGen Peacebuilders cohort in California, asked, would it be possible to work on just one peacebuilding opportunity as one big team? through a reflection session led by NewGen Peacebuilders facilitators. Cohort members concluded they were all interested in creating a peace project related to young people being safe and cared for. Through extensive research, the students learned that there are hundreds of thousands of children in foster care in the United States, with approximately 60,000 of them in California. Where these NewGen Peacebuilders live in Sonoma County, nearly 500 youth are in formal foster care programs at any given time. The students also learned that the experience of living in foster care can be unsettling and result in significant mental and emotional stress. Often, youth in foster care miss out on after-school and extracurricular activities that make being a kid fun. The team imagined a peace project to help serve children ages 8 to 12 who are living in foster care. They called it Foster the Future. Yet, as hopeful as the NewGen Peacebuilders were, initial prospects for the project seemed daunting. Team members were told that privacy and other restrictions could limit their ability to interact with the youth they wanted to serve. One juvenile court judge said, "You're teenagers, you'll lose interest. If you don't follow through, you could just add to disappointment the children in foster care have felt in other relationships. So, rather than try to build a long-term initiative such as after-school mentoring, the team created an all-day outing in a park and forest preserve. They brought together youth in foster care and NewGen Peacebuilders, mentors, and other supportive adults. The event included food, games, and opportunities to buddy up and just talk. In the words of one NewGen Peacebuilder, "We believe that sometimes all kids just need to know that people want to hang out with you." So, was the Foster the Future project a once and done, or did it continue? The answer is yes. The project continued in surprising ways. In 2017, a team of NewGen Peacebuilders from 2 universities in Virginia learned about Foster the Future and were inspired to create their own peace project with a twist. University graduation rates for young people who have lived in foster care are significantly lower than for those who haven't. Team members connected with local social service providers and designed an immersion program that can help introduce high school students in foster care to higher education opportunities. Then, in 2018, Joey Segasio, one of the Foster the Future NewGen Peacebuilders from Santa Rosa, made the needs of youth in foster care the focus of his 12th grade capstone service learning project. He sought out Jose Guillen, a speaker and mentor from the original cohort, and leveraged NewGen Peacebuilders' research on foster care to imagine and implement a new project called Carry On. With support from friends, family, and local Rotarians, Joey raised $4,000 to fund gift bags for youth transitioning to housing such as the Sonoma County Valley of the Moon Children's Home. The carry-on bags include hand-knit scarves and hats, picture frames, books, stuffed animals, small blankets, and toiletries. The heartfelt goal of both projects is to send a message. We want every child to feel comfortable and loved.
Joey Segasio is a senior graduating from Tulane University this year. He's a business major. Joey Segasio was the one who, with a group of interactors and Rotarians, said, "Why don't we do a project around foster care?" And when they said why, he said, "Because my brother and I were first in foster care and then we were adopted while we were in high school." And he said, "You have to understand, when you find yourself in that situation, you ask, has the world stopped loving me?" Today, Joey Segasio calls me on a regular basis, and he wanted me to know that he'll be graduating, he'll be going into business, he'll be going into finance, and he has a big grand plan to keep being responsible and being a responsible peace builder and a provider of service and peace in his communities through his impact, his power as a business person. So can you give Joey a hand? I'll tell him you did. Okay, which leads me to this very powerful point. This is Jan Eliasson. He is a former undersecretary at the United Nations, an undersecretary general at the United Nations. And he said this beautiful thing. And it's a beautiful speech he gave, but he basically said, you can't have peace without development, and you can't have development without peace. And the two intersect. And we often want to make a mistake and say, oh, by doing humanitarian development, we are building peace. Or by building peace, we are doing humanitarian development. No, they're two distinct things that collide or intersect in a beautiful, beautiful way. And that's our opportunity and your opportunity over the next 3 years. Now, you could think I'm just some sort of Pollyanna-ish person and the glass is always half full and everything is possible. It's sort of like what Patricia's husband said to her. Don't set yourself up for failure, right? What did he say to you again? Exactly. So I've put in a couple of images for you. This was taken just a few days ago by a journalist on the border between Lebanon and Israel. And we all know what's going on right now in terms of the intense fighting and horrible events that have occurred with Israel in Gaza, with Hamas. Will Hezbollah come in? Who do we stand with? Who do we not stand with? And so on. And this is at the border. I do work in Lebanon. I'm supposed to go back to Lebanon in January. And you just say to yourself, that is real. That is real. These are very tenuous times. This is terrible. And that is exactly why you have to be thinking peace and peace education and the development of more peace builders. And so with the group that we work with, and we get some support from Rotary over there, I said, shall we come? Should we come? What is the situation? And they said, we take every day, one day at a time. You should still plan on coming. And we need this now more than ever. Okay, so that's one. Two is, this is a photo, it's an old photo, but it's of child soldiers in South Sudan. I do a lot of work in South Sudan. And I'm glad to say that we have a very nice relationship with the Minister of Peace. And we're doing a lot of work in terms of peace education over there. It's starting to gain more momentum. But what he says is, we have to do this because in my country, we have 19,000 child soldiers that we need to demobilize from past civil wars. They go into the military because they're hungry, because they don't have jobs, because we can't educate them fast enough. And when they have these guns, they use these guns to participate in what's called the militarization of cattle raiding. So in South Sudan, there is still a process of you seek a bride, you will offer her family more wealth. Usually, it's a trading of cattle or an offering of cattle. And so all these young child soldiers have figured out that they can use these weapons to go cattle raiding and increase their ability to do what they need to do, set up a life with a bride and a family and so on, and find other sources of wealth because they go into the military thinking, well, at least it's a stable job and I'll get fed. But that's not what happens. They're hungry and they're tired and they're poor and they've got weapons. And he said to me, Patricia, with all the things we're doing, if I can't solve this child soldiering issue, the demobilization of child soldiers, my country will remain unstable for the duration. But he's hopeful. In Lebanon, they're hopeful. In South Sudan, he's hopeful. He's lived through civil war. He's lived through 2 parties and tribes fighting all the time. He is creating a process to peace through the Ministry of Peace, and he has programs that we should also all feel hopeful about and support. Okay? So that is why both here in the United States, in relative safety, depending on where you live, in Lebanon, in South Sudan, all of these places make the case for peace, the hope and need for peace, but the power of peace education also to get us there, whether it's for ourselves as adults or for young people. And so I'm going to close with 2 thoughts. So one comes from my friend Gwang Marial, who was the first teacher in his state in South Sudan to actually be able to go and be trained and get a certificate as a teacher. Because in South Sudan, if you're a girl and you get through the 4th grade, you are one lucky girl. In a country of 12 million people, a couple of hundred girls finish high school every year. There are some parts of the country where you will never see a day of school. And so my friend Gwang Marial became the first teacher in his state to actually go and get trained, to get a certificate, to be a teacher. And so this is him at his graduation, and of course that's what you do at graduation. You wrap yourself in tinsel, and he to celebrate. Exactly. And so he said, Patricia, you know, this is such a proud day for me. Thank you so much. And in my native Dinka language, we have a saying, from education comes wisdom, from wisdom comes peace. Okay? And I feel like I'm now going to be a peace educator, even though that's not what his, certificate was in. I'm now going to be a peace educator. And so he says, thank you for this opportunity. And I say, no, Guang, it's not me. This opportunity came to you because of Rotarians. Rotarians supported your opportunity to go and get this teaching degree. And he said, who are these Rotarians? And why do they love us so much? Why do they love me? And I said, well, so what I said was, they're very generous people, they're very kind people, they do good work all over the world. Since this picture was taken, Guang died overnight. You get these calls from South Sudan where it's, Guang, there was an incident, he went to the hospital, they don't know what it was, he didn't get the care he needed, he died. He died with 11 children, okay. If I could go back in time and talk to Guang, you know what I would tell him? I'd tell him something different. I would say, you know who Rotarians are, Guang? The World Bank has 20,000 official employees, full-time employees. The UN has 40,000 official employees. Rotary has 1.4 million members. If you work for the UN or you work for the World Bank, you say, I work for the World Bank. I work for the UN. IBM has 288,000 employees worldwide. I would say, Guang, Rotarians are 1.4 million people around the world who don't say, I work for this organization, I work for that organization. In fact, they give money, they give time, and they work for the common good. They volunteer out of good spirit and goodwill, and to actually achieve better lives for us all and peace on earth. That's who Rotary is, Guang. That's who loves you. And so nobody that I can think of is in a better position than you are to do what that great guitar player and great singer Jimi Hendrix said so many years ago. He said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will know peace. So thank you for sharing your love with the world in many different ways. And every time I hear a Rotarian say, we need to increase membership. Yes, you do. But only because you are a force for love on this planet. And we need more of that, desperately. Thank you.